everyone, welcome to Byte Happens, the podcast where we dive into the latest trends, insights, and stories from the pioneers shaping the technology industry. I'm your host, Flavia Taborga, and in each episode, I'll be speaking with top innovators, executives, and thought leaders to explore the groundbreaking work happening in the world of tech. For our very first episode, I'm thrilled to have a multi-time founder, operator, and a strategic advisor who's helped scale businesses from zero to over 100 million in revenue. We'll be discussing entrepreneurship in the tech world, the challenges ahead, and what excites him the most about the evolution of technology. Steven Khuong, welcome to Byte Happens. Thank you for being here today. It's an honor to have you as our first guest. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Flavia. It's a pleasure to be on this show with you. I'm excited to share what I can about my experiences. A lot of war stories, a lot of scars. So hopefully those experiences can help other people navigate and overcome challenges as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Steven. You know, your story honestly reads like a movie. Coming to the US as a refugee, starting your first business when you were only 12 years old, and later starting a record label to fund college. Can you give the audience a bit of background about yourself? Because I'm sure that had a major impact on your career.
Sure thing. My name is Steven Khuong. I'm a multi-time founder and also go-to-market advisor for many companies, primarily in the tech space, but also in the SMB and retail space as well. I do it all. I came to this country as an immigrant refugee when I was very, very young. My family was on welfare. We were very poor. We landed in Michigan after being housed in refugee camps in Asia. And we lived there for about a year. And then it got too cold. Never saw snow before. So we migrated to California. Landed in San Francisco, lived there for about a year, and then moved to Oakland. And I grew up and went to school in Oakland ever since. During that time, I was really involved in anything that had to do with acclimating myself to the local culture. Unfortunately, there was discrimination even within the Asian community because I wasn't born here and my family was immigrants. There was a lot of discrimination between Asian people that were born in the US versus people like us. They call us FOBs, fresh off the boat. So I had to look for sources of connection to other people. And fortunately for me, the welcoming culture was the Black community, and we were very much entrenched into hip hop. It was the emerging hip hop scenes. I'm going to date myself. This is like early 90s. They call it the golden age of hip hop. And from there, I learned how to DJ, put vinyl records on turntables and scratch. And at 12 years old, I started performing and started a DJ business that eventually was able to help me pay for school. So that was the catalyst for all of my other entrepreneurial ventures.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's a great story of like you can tell you've overcome so much. And you know, there's a lot of stories of highly accomplished people who in past experiences maybe were exposed to different fields and that ended up shaping their mindsets. Do you think this was the case with you? Do you think music and ended up influencing the way you approach leadership, the way you solve problems in tech?
That's a great question. The short answer is yes, but I'll give you a longer answer as well. You know, before the luxury of having the internet, the communications and marketing was really, really hard. It was a hands-on approach, and you really had to get in front of people. So after building my DJ business, I started to dabble into music production as well. Back in the days before having the luxury of the internet and quick connections, you actually had to get in front of people physically to promote anything. So as I was building the DJ business, I also started to dabble in music production, primarily making beats. And eventually we built a record label and started promoting hip hop groups in the Bay Area. And the way that we had to do that was we had to go to dances or other people's concerts, and we would have to do ciphers in the parking lot and have audio cassettes ready to sell and try to promote it that way. So that's like really, really hardcore, like hands-on, like on the streets level promotions. And as you can imagine, you get rejected all the time. No, I don't want to listen to this. What is this? Get out of my face. So having that experience really taught me that it's just a math problem, really. If you do it enough times, you get better at doing it. And if you do it enough times and you have conviction about the product that you're producing, whether or not it's good or bad is kind of besides the point. But having conviction around the product allows you to have the ability to interject yourself into a conversation and start to market yourself as the best thing since sliced bread. So that is a really, really fundamental lesson that I learned early on.
That's amazing. And do you think this conviction and resilience, do you think these are skills that can be teachable, or do people have to learn this skill that way, or in a hard way?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that these skills are teachable, but it requires a couple of things before we start the education process. I'm a firm believer in this pyramid or this trifecta scheme, which is your mind that makes up the intelligence, and then the physical body that makes up the physical capability to do things, and then some level of a higher plane. Some people call it spirituality, some people call it religion, some people call it God. It doesn't really matter. But there's something outside of us that's greater, that's benevolent. So I'm a firm believer in that. I've always believed in that because of my own existence. The fact that I didn't die in a war was benevolence from the universe. So if we put those three things together, the mind, the body, and the spirit, and we hold that foundation, then we can learn. We can learn to have conviction, and we can learn to allow authenticity to be the best salesperson. Because oftentimes when I help other founders and CEOs and executives with problems, I often find that without authenticity, there can be a lack of conviction.
That's interesting. What an amazing mindset. Steven, let's dive more into what you do now. You've helped many founders across industries from AI to biotech. What would you say are the biggest obstacles companies face when adopting new technology?
The biggest obstacle that I'm seeing right now is mindset. More often than not, when I do surveys and interviews with teams within organizations, I often find that some people start their mindset from a place of can't. So they use the word can't a lot. I can't do this. That can't be possible. We can't do that. So my perspective is that instead of starting from the place of can't, start from the place of everything is just a moment in time. I may not be able to do this right now, but this isn't always going to be true. This isn't a perpetual problem. So I'll give you an example. Maybe 5 years ago, someone says, oh, I can't get that information right now. That's going to take weeks of research. Well, today, that's no longer true because you can go on the internet and put in ChatGPT and literally get answers instantaneously.
Yeah.
So that's my case study of why this mindset of can't is really, really problematic. And I see that being the precursor to a lot of problems in companies, small and large. It's the mindset.
Yeah. It's switching to these, it's not possible to, it's possible, or it will be possible mindset.
Exactly, exactly. Starting from the place of possibility and everything is just a point in time. Like literally, like we could be having a great day and it's sunny and we're at the beach and everything's going well. And before you know it, boom, thunderstorm, you get rained out. And then we can all be bummed about it, be like, oh my God, this is the worst day ever. We're having such a good time. But not knowing just an hour later, the sun comes up and the weather is perfect again. So you see, everything is just a moment in time. And I think for business people to develop resilience, they have to not only adopt that mindset, but understand that faith in change is consistent with positive outcomes.
That's amazing. Yeah. And what would you say are the biggest technology trends that combined with this mindset are going to be driving the change in the future years
Oh,
ahead?
yeah, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but definitely artificial intelligence, AI. You can see it right now. AI agents are able to remove the can't from a lot of our problems, right? I don't know the answer. I can't find the answer. Well, if ChatGPT doesn't work, go to Google Gemini. If that doesn't work, go to Claude. Go to like And it's happening at the speed of light. Like it's happening faster than we can imagine. Last night, I go to sleep and I think these are the limitations of AI. I wake up the next morning, I get a news feed and be like, oh, now we can clone Steven and take his voice and make him say really cool things in Japanese, you know?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
that's definitely AI, and I see how fast the technology is progressing. My thought on this is that there are two sides of the coin. There's the concern side and there's the opportunity side. And I think to be fair, I think we're still quite early because it took like 15 years to get from zero to where we are now. And I
Mhm.
think the next 6 months will have more progress in the last 15 years.
Yeah, for sure. And do you think there's a limit of what entrepreneurs can do with AI right now?
There is a limit. There is a limit. I think AI is really good in terms of information collection, information curation. The large language models are constantly learning from all the inputs. But as an owner of a company, a founder of the company, the AI can't be you in terms of your authenticity. It doesn't know the struggles that you've been through. It doesn't know the challenges that you're going through every day. It doesn't know that after every board meeting you're crying at lunch in your car by yourself. AI doesn't know these things. But I think those experiences are your superpowers as an executive, as a founder, as an entrepreneur, because that's the difference between humanity and something that's artificial and machinery. You know,
Yeah.
with humanity, we get experiences of artifacts that aren't necessarily there now. Like I can't predict the future. Like maybe in the future, AI can have those same experiences as well. And if I had to make a bet, my bet would be towards that angle. But for now, that's the difference. Is that founders are at the end of the day humans, and we are prone to making a lot of those mistakes. And those mistakes, our accumulation of those mistakes, are education for us. They're both business education and spiritual education. And I think that's the differentiator. AI can't experience that for us for now. And I think because of that, we need to own that and allow that to be our education to make us better executives.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I'm very excited about how AI will be advancing in the future. Coming back to this mindset that you're telling me it's so important to have. I read your website, which I invite the audience to read also. And you mentioned a lot about aligning financial, mental, and spiritual health in one. And that's not a common thing to hear in the tech world in Silicon Valley. How do you bring that mindset into your company? How do you encourage that into your teams? How do you keep focus on this mindset?
That's a great subject to touch upon. I think that mindset of bringing like peace, prosperity, and purpose together is something that every founder feels in the core of their gut, but it might be too metaphysical or like too wacky to talk about in the tech world because in tech everything is algorithm, everything is data sets, everything is hard science. But if you're a founder and you're listening to this, this may ring true. You know, what is the best financial success or the best exit going to do for you if at the end of it all you're stressed out, you're having anxiety, you have panic attacks, you're constantly people pleasing, you're constantly chasing goals that are seemingly impossible? Like what do those things do to you? Like what does $1 billion do for you when you're going to be in a hospital for the rest of your life from a mental or physical breakdown?
Yeah.
Well, good luck using that money in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
So, really, I encourage founders and entrepreneurs to take a step back and flip it. Find the peace in what you do. Make sure that everything that you do brings you peace. Have purpose in your mission. And then the prosperity comes as a symptom of that. But if we chase prosperity first, you might not get the first two things, which is peace and purpose. And that's going to leave you empty and void and sad and anxiety driven.
Yeah.
I've been there 1,000 times before. These are all war scars that I have. And that's one of the best values that I can bring to the people that I coach is that I'm honest about the subject. And make no mistake, we do work on the tactical stuff as well. The financials, go to market strategy, all of those things are also in play, but they're running parallel.
Yeah. Are there any small daily tasks or routines founders could follow, like meditating, maybe journaling to keep this peace, try to find this peace in these chaotic days?
Definitely. Um, what you discussed are true. Meditation, journaling, I recommend all of those things as well. But my biggest thing is movement. Life is movement. The universe is always moving. At a subatomic level, at the quantum level, things are moving. So as a founder, I encourage you to move. If it means, walking around when you're doing your Zoom call, or what I just did today, I went to the local park and I ran up a hill and did a hike jog combo for 30 minutes. And it was really, really difficult. It was really, really hard. And I sweated a lot and my heart was racing, pounding out of my chest. But I encourage those things because it teaches us to continue to not allow inertia to hold us back. So movement, physical movement, not just movement of thoughts, but movement of the physical body. I think that is core. You have to do that on a consistent basis. If you can't do it every day, do it 3 times a week.
Yeah.
But you got to move.
Yeah, that's amazing. It trains your mind and your brain to do hard stuff so you can keep going. That's
Yes.
amazing. That's amazing. Steven, looking ahead, how do you see entrepreneurship and technology mixed in the future? Do you think every entrepreneur should adopt technology, AI?
Yes. I think in the future, we're going to have a shifting of core functions and responsibilities within startup companies as well as larger organizations. I think in the future, we are going to be working hand in hand with an AI agent. So instead of just Flavia producing the podcast and hosting Steven, in the future, it will be Flavia and Flavia's agent producing the show, and then Steven and Steven's agent answering those questions and prepping the script for that. I think that's what's going to happen in the
Yeah.
future. This is a very pragmatic way to think about it. I do think that as entrepreneurs, we need to be ready for the inevitable, which is there's going to be a shift in the human culture's attitude towards AI. Some people will look at it from a very dystopian perspective, a doomsday perspective. Oh my God, they're taking jobs away from us. Like, we hate these robots, And then there's going to be another attitude, which is like, oh, this is the greatest thing. I don't longer have to clean my room. I can just call in R2D2 and he's going to come in and sweep everything up, make everything perfect. But the truth of the matter is that the reality is that we're going to be teetering on the spectrum for quite a bit. So as entrepreneurs, I suggest that we look at both sides with a realistic perspective. Where are we now? What are we able to take advantage of now? And then also think about the future. What are the dangers of adopting AI and what are the benefits? Because I don't think that thinking one way on this polarity or another way on this polarity is helpful. I think we have to be aware of the opportunities and the threats at the same time and make good decisions, good judgments about the business that we're growing and its presence within the larger ecosystem of the marketplace, which now has AI artifacts all over.
Those are great insights, Stephen. And for our listeners, what advice would you give to someone who has an idea of a company and wants to break into the industry of tech, but it doesn't know where to start, maybe?
Definitely find good technology partners. And full disclosure, I am going to give a little bit of a promo to Waverly just because I've worked with Waverly many times through many of my business ventures. Find a company like Waverly, a company that is invested in producing the best technology and being honest with you about progress and having very strong communication relationships and engagement with you. These type of partnerships are hard to find, but they do exist. Like do your due diligence, talk to Waverly, talk to another company, find a good partner that can deliver not only on the product, the technical output, but also are going to be vested in you by building trust and communications. That's what you need if you are a founder looking to build something on the tech side.
That's great advice. Thank you, Stephen. This has been such a fantastic conversation. Before we wrap up, where can our listeners find you or follow your work?
Yeah, so I'm active on Instagram. You can go to Steven_Khuong. That's my profile on Instagram. I'm also active on LinkedIn. Same handle, Steven_Khuong. If you DM me on both of those platforms, I'll respond to you right away. I also have my website, stevenkhuong.com. What I do is I help people overcome challenges to find peace, purpose, and prosperity. Whether you are $100 million company or you're just a solo entrepreneur starting out, if you have some challenges, let's discuss.
Amazing. Thank you again, Steven, for joining us today. This was a masterclass on entrepreneurship and mindset. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Byte Happens. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, share it with your network. You can follow us on our social media channels for updates and upcoming episodes. I'm Flavia, and we've got more incredible tech leaders joining us in the next sessions. I'll see you next time, and until then, remember, Byte Happens.